Namaskaram, everybody. Thank you for joining. Let's begin. Om. Bijapuragadekshkarmakarajapchakrabjapashotpala Vrayyagraswapishanratnakalashaifrodhyatkaram bhorvaha Dheyo vallabhaya sapatmakaraya ashlishtojvaladbhushaya Vishwotpatti vipatti samsatikaro vignesha ishtardada Shri Natadi Gurutrayam Ganapatim Pitatrayam Bhairavam Siddhaugam Vatukatrayam Padayugam Dhuti Kramam Mandalam Veerandhyashtachatushkashashtinapakam Veeravali Panchakam Shrimanmalini Mantrarajasahitam Vande Guror Mandalam Madharme Madhukaita Bhagni Mahishaf Pranapaharodhyame Hela Nirmita Dhumra Lochana Vadhe He Chandamundardhini Nisheshe Kritarakta Bhijadhanuje Nitye Nishumbhapahe Shumbhadvansini Samhara Suduritan Durge Namaste Mbeke Sarvam Shri Chandi Mahalakshmi Shri Padukam Pujayami Tarpayami Namaha Sadgurum Shri Padukam Pujayami Tarpayami Namaha. Welcome all of you for this another session that is getting unfolded by the grace of Bhagavati. We have time for the next semester to begin, and I was really wondering what to start with because we have started with Durga Vijayam. On the other side, we have announced the Kashi Mahima. So and I was like really juggling over the literature, trying to understand, contemplate and present, and also trying, because it's like I have to keep you all entertained and also keep you intact with the with the knowledge system. So there was a huge responsibility that's coming up. So I thought maybe we'll add, we are definitely getting into Kashi Mahatmya, which is coming up. The classes are going to happen, and we are going to share the timetable of the entire June and July until the semester is going to begin. So we are also starting with the foundations of the Dasamahavidyas system, because as a Mahavidyalaya, which is focused on the Śākta systems. So many of you actually are deeply interested in Dasamahavidya discourses, and we have done Dasamahavidya discourses previously. Also, a lot of students have heard the Dasamahavidya system, the discourses, and every time different perspectives have been shared with the students, and they have deeply reflected, and there were also vivid presentations that were also given by students on the Dasamahavidya system in the previous years, actually. So moving forward, this is a foundational class for 3 days, but the happy news is that we are not going to stop with the 3-day introduction, but we are also going to deeply dwell into each of the Mahavidyas separately, actually, as an introduction to the Dasamahavidya system. But the first 3 days are kind of going to be the foundations, actually, because we are trying to understand the philosophical and the scriptural foundations of understanding the Dasamahavidya system. Actually, this is something very important and essential for us, because as a Mahavidyalaya and as students is trying to understand and study the Śākta systems, we have to understand the foundations from where the concepts are, or the origins of the concepts are coming up. Because at the end of the day, okay, Kadavul, Swami, Ambar, like Devi, that's all fine. Like, but where your Devi came from, actually, if somebody is going to ask you where your Devi came from, where you came from, if somebody is going to ask, you say, right, my parents are hailing from here, they are from this background, this is the ancestry. Till the level you will be able to say. But when we talk about Devi, what is that we have to say her, actually? The only thing we say is that she's Adi Shakti, she's Parameshwara's wife, she's the mother of Skanda and Ganapati, correct? These are the perhaps the only thing where we can talk about it. But like how far we can deeply dwell on the concept is something very important for us to think about it, actually, and that is what is we are trying to bring together in these foundation classes. So when I talk about the Dasamahavidyas, the names we have within the tradition, like we have Kali, Tara, Tripura Sundari, Tripura Sundari is also considered or known as Sodashi within the Tantric system, actually. More than the Tripura Sundari, she is considered or called to be Sodashi, actually. Bhuneshwari, Chinnamasta, Bhairavi, Dhumavati, Bhaglamukhi, Matangi, Kamala. This is the traditional arrangement. If you have to ask, is there a hierarchy which is there? Starting from Kali to Kamala, is there any hierarchical arrangement that is present? If the answer has to be given in two ways, actually, because in the entire class within the Dasamahavidyas system, because the literature talks two kinds of things, actually, or maybe three perspectives, actually. One, there is a systematic way that it unfolds, because the scriptures predominantly based on Devi Bhagavatam, what it talks about, and also the other major tantric scriptures, they dwell. For example, the tantric scriptures means, when I'm talking about, I refer to, for example, the Bhuneshwari Tantra, or the Guhya Kali Tantra. If like these tantras, there are different sets of texts that they talk about a kind of a hierarchy. And there is a second kind of a classification that comes, is that, like they say, you would have heard this, those who are into this system, and you would have read and learned a little bit, you would have that there is two schools of thought. One is the Shri Kula and the Kali Kula, actually. The Kali Kula classifies all the Ugra Devata, and the Shri Kula classifies all the Saumya Devatas, or the Ugra versus the Shanta, the debate that exists within the entire Śākta paradigm. That is a way to understand. And the third thing is that is there a hierarchy that flows from Kali to Kamalatmika? Yes, definitely there is. Also, the tradition talks about from Kali to Kamalatmika, there is a kind of a descendancy theory that flows from each of the Mahavidya. They have a different, they represent a different idea, and these ideas are basically scaffolding. From Kali, it is scaffolding and coming down to Kamalatmika. For example, the tradition in a way says that Kali is very powerful, beyond the entire materialistic conception. But when it comes to ultimately, when it is scaffolding and coming to Kamalatmika, she's very much a part of the material world, actually, because she's all about the wealth, and people are very much intricately, they have this relationship with wealth and identity of the self. There it so much in relation to Kamalatmika. So, and also, as I mentioned, the tradition again talks about each Mahavidya in itself as a separate source of knowledge, actually, though they are all coming together, actually, but they are also talking about different sources of knowledge, and being the source of knowledge as a foundation of one system of knowledge, they are actually embedding the other 9 Mahavidyas. For example, if I have to talk about Bhuvaneshwari or Tripura Sundari or even Kamalatmika or anybody, they have their individual characteristic features. They have their own pastimes. They have the scriptural references. They have their bija mantras. They have their yantras. They have a tantra that is unfolding. But we also see the fact that they are also equally taking into other Mahavidyas into the place, actually. Like Kamalatmika has a Kali Tattva also. Chinnamasta has a Tripura Sundari Tattva within her, actually. So like that, this understanding evolves, actually, about the Dasamahavidya system. This is something very important we all have to understand. Also, there is another dimension that I have to talk to you all when it comes to the introduction, is that because the only thing we all know is Tripura Sundari. Majority of us, we know Tripura Sundari and the manifestations of Tripura Sundari primarily as Kamakshi or Meenakshi, particularly from the South Indian traditions, we understand, Tripura Sundari as Kamakshi. Yeah. Or the Kamalatmika series, which I'm writing now, and most of you are not reading it, and most of you are not interested to read, actually. I do not know why you people are not interested to read, actually. Reading is something fundamental, actually. Unless and until, it's not simply about listening. Listening should culminate into reading, actually. And I write so much for you all, actually. You all should read and evolve, actually. Reading is something very important. Invest in buying some good books about all these concepts, actually. More than in English, I'm seeing that in Kannada, Telugu, Tamil, there are wonderful authors. They have written some beautiful books on these concepts, actually. And I encourage our students, Mahavidyas, students and astikas to invest to buy books, actually. Buy books and read. If you want, I can also give a list of books, but I cannot give the list in Tamil. I can give perhaps in Tamil because I do read Tamil. But if you ask me to give in Telugu or Kannada or Malayalam, I do not know. You have to really invest your time to understand and buy books. Last year itself, a few of you got books on Devi Bhagavatam. I think it is all it's lying somewhere in the shelf with a lot of dust, I guess, actually. So you should be able to take out that book and read, actually. Reading is something primary. It's not about simply listening. This is something very important. I'm letting you all know this. So moving forward, I was just mentioning that Tripura Sundari and Shri Chakra. The common myth is that Tripura Sundari, Shri Chakra is consisting of all the other all the other Shakti of the Sampurna Shakti of all the Dasamahavidyas. See, this can be, again, as I said, this can be debated or argued in two ways, actually. One way, we can accept, yes, within the Shri Chakra, we can invoke the other Mahavidyas, but at the same time, if within the Shri Chakra, I have to invoke the other Dasamahavidyas, why does Kali have a separate yantra? Why Ishwari has a separate yantra? Why Dhumavati has a separate yantra? You understand what I'm trying to say? So, over the time, to make things easy, to make things within a school of thought, that is the Śākta school of thought, the traditional acharyas, our saints and scholars, within the larger school, they wanted to bring a holistic understanding for everything. So for that reason, the Shri Chakra became a primary way of understanding as a source of creation. If Shri Chakra can be understood as a primary source of creation, even Kali's Chakra can also be equally invested to understand the source of creation, actually. Or, for example, Chinnamasta's yantra. Or, for example, Bhuneshwari's yantra. But the reason why there is so much of importance for Shri Chakra or Shri Vidya, because we have to understand, when I'm talking about Shri Vidya is one among the Vidyas only. There are other 9 Vidyas are there. But we all at the back of only Shri Vidya, actually. Thanks to the world of internet, which has made it so easily available in the last 20, 30 years, actually. If Shri Vidya is that important, even Kali's Vidya is also that important, actually. Or even Chinnamasta's Vidya, or any of these aspects, actually. The only thing is that the availability of literature, the availability of teachers, the availability of the tradition that survived, these things mattered when it came to transmitting this knowledge. And when all these 3 aspects were happening, what happened? The Dasamahavidyas system, which is equally well established in their own spaces, they all got merged into a single dominant tattva. For example, for the Mahatripura Sundari, we have the 16 Nityas, the Sodasha Nitya. For even Kali, we have the 16 Nityas. They are different. They are not the same, actually. Now, all the other Mahavidyas, they also have Titi Nityas, actually. Mahanityas, they are also equally Mahanitya. If Tripura Sundari is a Mahanitya, Kali is Mahanitya, the other Mahavidyas are also Mahanityas, and they also have the system. The only thing is that not everybody know the truth about it, actually. Not that the material is available, not the literature is available, not the experts, the teachers, the gurus, the systems, the paramparas, they are not easily available. It doesn't mean that it is not existing. It's still kept in guhyam. It is kept in rahasyams, actually. Tripura Sundari worshipped in the South India is very different, whereas from the Tripura, in the Desha of Tripura, that is in the state of Tripura, she is worshipped differently, completely. Again, when we talk about the same concepts, in the South India, Dasamahavidyas system has a very different understanding. Whereas in the North India, it is a very different. In South India, if I have to say, people will not even place the portrait of Durga at home, actually. Durga is considered to be a Ugra Devata. You forget about placing a photo of a Kali or Chinnamasta to worship, actually. But whereas in the North India, it is very prevalent to have Durga. Durga is a deity in everybody's home, actually. But that same Durga is kept as Kamakshi, Meenakshi, all that, somebody who is who can settle with the family, actually. Somebody who has the identity of a married woman, you understand, because she is easy to exploit, right? Because she will easily listen to her husband. She will easily listen to her children. She will easily listen to her, her mamanar, mamiyar, all. So that concept, see, maybe certain things when I'm speaking here, it should not land up becoming controversial in terms of taking these Mahavidya sessions, but that is what is the entire concept is all about. Because why I'm saying this is that one of the tradition, they say you identify each of the Mahavidya with Shiva, actually. When it comes to the Purusha principle, Shiva is identified as a part of all these systems. And the other equal system, the theories, the Shastras, the texts, the literatures, they very clearly talk about that she is nowhere related to Shiva. She is much far more beyond Shiva, actually, or rather, she is the one who creates Shiva himself, actually. For her own personal reasons, she creates Shiva, and she runs and sustains the system. So very contradicting theoretical principles that come out, actually. Are you able to follow what I'm trying to say? Why I'm giving this lens is that because there is a very broader picture for Dasamahavidya system, because when we are trying to understand them as a concept, we are trying to understand them as together, as one single entity, and also as individually what they are, and how this evolution has happened, actually, and where it is taking us. And when we spoke about the Ugra versus the Shanta debate, this became the foundation for the society to evolve with the Śākta traditions, actually. The Ugra versus Shanta. Very, very, very fundamental way of understanding the Mahavidya, actually. And when it is all about Ugra, definitely there is fear. And when there is fear, there is a lot of restrictions, actually. In Shanta, though there is no fear, but there is a lot of restrictions, actually. Correct? Fear, one way fear is used as a foundational principle, and the other place, more than the fear, approach was used. I mean, she could be approached, but there are still principles were laid, actually. Though bhakti is a foundation in any of the system, whether Ugra versus the Shanta, the bhakti is the foundation to approach Mother Goddess. Unless and until there is no astika tattva, unless and until you are not having bhakti, it cannot evolve further. But that bhakti evolving into what is called as the three important principles, which is Tantra, Mantra, and Yantra, it all depends upon the individual's exposure, the individual's sukrutam in terms of getting a guru, trying to understand the system and evolve further, actually. Any of the Mahavidya, actually. Or the other way, directly being blessed by the Mahavidya herself, that she puts the jiva, him or her, into her contact, she reveals herself, and she shows the path for them to understand her, actually. So this is the way the system actually evolves. And so why I'm saying is that because the entire reason why I'm speaking this is, I will tell you two different variations. One, I might say her that she's a part of the Shiva Kutumbam, she's a part of the family and everything. On the other side, I will extremely say that she's standing on Shiva himself, actually. You should not think that what is this actually. One side, she's a part of Shiva Kutumbam. You all do that, right? Actually. So she's also doing it, basically. One side, you all will say, when I say I have to ask my husband before I consult, before I say anything. Yeah, I know what you will ask your husband, actually. How you actually treat your husband, I know very well. So you cannot give me these stories. So this is all coming in a way where, in a very joking manner, this is all coming from Mahadevi herself, because you are all the manifestations of Mahadevi. When I'm talking about this, it is also equally implying to Purushas also. I will ask my wife to do it, actually. The understanding that comes in, actually. So and also equally when it comes to the other aspect of, she being completely an independent entity. That's the way the evolution of the true knowledge can actually build upon this. Because what we are trying to do in our Mahavidyalaya is that we're trying to decode and understand who is this mother all about, actually. Who is this mother all about? Because when we talk about the Mahavidyas, we all wanted to have that assumption of that power equation and relationship with her actually. Okay, she's very powerful. Therefore, I should get her mantra. I should chant it for these many times. I should go to this aspect of, I should visit this temple or XYZ temple of her, or maybe I should learn some Tantra of her, do some puja from in whatever way. I should get rid of my problem. She's not meant for that actually. She's definitely not meant for that. Though the traditions have, have given that kind of space for the evolution of Devi in that particular dimension, but she's a larger understanding. You look into today, in today's time, you all have so much of pain to read, right? I'm going on talking about that. If you go to, let us get, I'm not getting into this kind of a, the trivial debate between within our own system, but let us have this larger perspective to understand. If Shankaracharya, Adi Shankara said that we have Shanmata, Adi Shankaracharya is the Shanmata Stapakar. There are 6 major religions within our own dharma. Ghanapatyam, that is the worship of Ganesha. Vaishnavam, that is the worship of Mahavishnu. Shaivam, that is the worship of Shiva. Shauram, that is the worship of Surya. Skandha, that is the worship of Subramanya Swami. And we have ultimately Śākta, that is the worship of Parāśakti. If you look into the 2 major schools, let us take actually. One is Shaiva and Vaishnava. You look at what is the, it is not that, let me tell you, they don't have yantra, mantra, and tantra. But if anybody who is truly following Vaishnava Tattva or Shaiva Tattva, you imagine the amount of the literature that they get trained into. Devaram, Divya Prabandham. Yes or no? All the bhajans, how much of Nama they say. Yes or no? But whereas when it comes to Śākta, it is all about doing some mantra japam, doing some nyasams, or doing some yantra pujas. That too temporarily, get rid of your solution. That's it. His mother is meant for that. That is what is the entire parampara or the entire Śākta philosophy is all about actually. You as a seeker should ask this question actually, what is that you are finding in Devi actually? Are you able to get my foundation question that I'm asking you actually? If you really wanted to go to any other Shaivite school or a Vaishnavite school, they are not going to initiate you in some mantra and all and to do these kriyas, japams, all these other, the colorful orchestration, the theatrics that we do actually with the Shri Chakra and the other aspects. They are very much there, but it is not that explicitly is there for everybody. You have to learn the Divya Prabandham. In South India means it is Divya Prabandham. In the North India, they have their own text literatures. If not anything, they will ask you to do a lot of Nama Japa, Narayana Nama Japa, Krishna Nama Japa, Rama Nama Japa. Yes or no, you tell me? Whereas in the Shiva, the same thing. The same concepts are there actually. But when it comes to Devi, why there is this exploitation actually? How many of you actually here who is initiated, who is sincerely doing your mantra japa? How many of you are actually trained in nyasams, are actually doing your nyasams? How many of you would have had a Shri Chakra in your home? How many of you truly worshipping the Shri Chakra? So many important questions actually, because she's mother, she's exploited. Can you exploit your father? Tell me. No. You cannot. Because she's mother, she's also quiet, she's also fine with it, and you are also fine with it. But as a child, it is your responsibility now to look into your mother, into her eyes, and tell that, Amma, I've done enough of mistakes. Now it's time that you teach me about you. So that at least from now, I will be a son or I will be a daughter who will be according to what my mother wanted. And that is where this Dasamahavidyas system is actually evolving. If there is only one Shakti, who's Parāśakti, why she had to evolve into 10 different forms? Question number 1. Question number 2, if she is only Parāśakti, then what is considered to be Adi Shakti actually? Number 3, if she is Parabrahman, she is the Nirguna Tattvam, how it is established within the foundations of the Dasamahavidyas system? Or is there anything beyond the Dasamahavidyas system? These three questions will be answered at the end of the Dasamahavidyas sessions that you are undertaking actually. This is the learning outcome that I have placed. What is how we are actually evolving with the concept of the Dasamahavidyas, which is very foundation for somebody who is actually wanted to learn, wanted to evolve within the Śākta traditions actually, because now there is a lot of people who are writing, the entrance exam. My whatever I'm speaking now, all my speech is based on the reflections after reading so many answers actually. Like I love Devi. I have this exposure. I've been to this temple. I have heard Durga Saptashati. I have learned Durga Saptashati, but I want to learn it in a proper manner. So many things, but our people are touching that question. When it comes to moksha, when we talk about moksha, when we talk about liberation, we quickly talk about only Shiva and Vishnu actually. Hardly people can correlate themselves when it comes to moksha tattvam to Devi. Yes or no? You tell me. Devi is only there to solve my problems. But the moment I don't have problems, I can go somewhere else actually for that moksham actually. Maybe that's the reason she has kept all of us in problems, so that we are always with her. Yes or no? Because she is the one who is solving the problems, right? You don't want to go beyond our problems. You don't want to reach to moksham actually. So what is it? Moksham seems to be a very distant idea given by some other god. And here you are there, you are being caught by your own self. You are being caught by the family. You are being caught by the society. You are being caught by the system. And that system needs power. And that power is nothing but Shakti. And that Shakti is what is Shri. And there is a kind of an interplay that is constantly going here actually. So let's take it forward. The 10 Mahāvidyās. I've listed the 10 Mahāvidyās. So we will be talking about them both as a group and as a individual manifestation of the Parāśakti Tattva. We will be getting deeply to understand their iconography, some of their important temples, the tattvas. In some of the places, I might even land up explaining one or two yantras of Devi, the avarnas, the devatas who are present in the avarnas. I would like to explain all the 10 yantras of all the Mahāvidyās, and then, you evolve with the ideas. But the classes we almost have to have an entire year to understand these concepts in a much more detailed manner. So I will explain one or two aspects of the yantras. Maybe I'll explain the Bhuvneshwari yantra, and I will explain the Kali yantra, the Avarna Devatas. So you understand how this yantra and everything that is placed, that will be connecting with your Saundarya Lahari classes, those who have actually registered. So you understand the concept of yantra, and then those who are going to go to the next levels as you progress in the Mahavidyalaya, you will be also able to understand the intricacies and the details of the Shri Chakra. Okay. So the Mahavidya. So the introduction, if I have to sum up, Mahavidya as a concept is dealt individually and together, number one. Number two, they are independent identities, yet they are related. They have a relational identity within the system of Dasamahavidya, and also with the other aspects of how society has evolved, even the divine society, that is she being a part of the family of Shiva. She's Shiva's wife, Vishnu's sister, mother of Skanda, mother of Ganesha. So there's that kind of a classification is also there. Also, there is a purely an independent idea that evolves. And number three, how she is ultimately the concept when it comes to the deep understanding of the body, the soul, the moksha, how she is getting into that aspect actually. She's really there. She can really award this, what is called as moksha. Or should we really go to, is that Paramatma, the concept of Paramatman, which we talk in the Shastras, is she anywhere there nearby, or is she the Paramatma? Can she grant me what is called as moksha? This is also a very important question. If she is the one who is granting me moksha, Who is that then who is granting me from this 10 Mahāvidyās? You know, all of them can grant me, or only one can grant me? Or why there is this another important question also, like why did this classification evolve as the Kali Kula and the Shri Kula? So all these are the concepts that we have spoken in the introduction, which will be detailed in a way discussed in the upcoming sessions actually. So now the first one is that the concept of Mahadevi. Who is this Mahadevi? If you would have heard me talking about the Durga Vijayam, you would have heard the concept of the Trimurtis and their experiences of the Mahadevi, correct? That if you'd have heard, it is easy for you to correlate because Mahadevi is nothing but the Prapancha Shakti. If I have to put it in a very simple sense, Mahadevi is the Prapancha Shakti. What is that Prapancham? The cosmos. And what is that cosmos? The unmanifested realities of the entire universe, the unmanifested reality. If that unmanifested reality has to take a form, no, if that unmanifested aspect has to take a form, then that form is nothing but Mahadevi. It's nothing but Mahadevi. And that Mahadevi, now you will ask me, who is that Mahadevi? Correct? That Mahadevi, in other words, is Adi Parāśakti. And that Adi Parāśakti is the one who has revealed herself in the divine feminine form, actually. And she is the concentrated form of that many forms, the concentrated, we call that concentrated liquid, right? The concentrated, if that concentrated liquid, if we have some detergent powder, what we do, we actually pour that into a larger vessel of water so that it becomes, you know, that the larger vessel will contain what is called as the concentrated liquid's power. So she is that concentrated expression of the entire cosmic idea, or the cosmic unmanifested realities of, or the mysteries of this entire universe. And that aspect of Parashakti, as from there, from that level, she has descended to the levels of what is called as being a Grama Devata. From that Parashakti to the levels of guarding our villages, guarding our geographies, the sacred geographies in which we live. You know, imagine the expansion actually. Very varied dimensions of expansions. When she's having varied dimensions of expansions, it also means she has varied personalities. And when we talk about varied personalities, then it means that she's having varied moods also. Personalities, moods, and varied personalities, varied moods, various forms, and those various forms performing various activities. Starting from what is called as a universal identity until a localized identity. What is that universal identity versus localized identity? For example, let us take the concept, one from the North India, one from the South India, let me take. Let us take the example of Jwala ji from North India. Jwala Devi. Okay. Let us take the idea of Samayapuram Mariamman. Samayapuram Mariamman. Most of, I do not know how many of you have a idea about Samayapuram Mariamman. I understand that though she's a very local deity, but she's world famous actually. So Jwalaji Shakti Peetam, one of the core Shakti Peetam, have what is called as a universal presence, because the entire idea of the manifestation of fire, which is very important there, governing up one of the main important Panchabhutas, having a universal importance, yet having a localized relevance actually within that sacred geography. Okay, you forget about Samayapuram Mariamman being famous now, but Samayapuram Mariamman is not famous. She is meant for that part of that sacred geography in which she is located actually. For example, there might be a small Devi temple near your house, which might be not in Google, correct? That doesn't mean that she doesn't have the powers of Jwalaji actually. You understand what I'm trying to say? Jwalaji is powerful because of the attributes and the ideas that is associated with her. She is also Shakti, but that same localized deity who is just next to your house, the Devi who is there near your house, one temple, for example, the Devi is present. She is also carrying that same universal Shakti, but she's acting very locally. She's meant for your place actually. So this is the she has expanded. Dr. Ruchi, can you understand now? The expansion, the concept of expansion from universal to localized identities actually. And when I'm talking about the localized identities, she's also plays the role of being a Kula Devi for each one of us actually. Now somebody will tell me actually, sir, I have a Kula Devata. First of all, I don't know my Kula Devata, sir. Many of you will tell this. Okay, fine, no issues. I'm not getting there now. Now somebody will say, sir, my Kula Devata is a male god actually. It's a Kula Dev, not Kula Devi. The traditions very clearly says that, the Shastras very clearly says that though you might identify your family or your lineage having a Kula Dev, but there is definitely a Kula Devi is there actually. There is a Devi who is in memory actually. Though we would have forgotten, but she is very much there. And that's the reason the tradition has evolved in worshipping common forms like Durga actually. Because we have forgotten, most of us have forgotten the inherent identities of who is our Kula Devi. So the common understanding has evolved with Durga actually. Okay, fine, I might be not to worship Durga in temple at my home. For example, in the South Indian tradition, we cannot keep a Durga at home. But I go to temples on every Friday to worship her. Or maybe I do what is called as offering my debts to her in this particular month of the year. In the South India, we have this tradition of the Ashada Masa, the Adi Masa, where we go and perform special prayers to Devi. What is all about? It is all about giving that generations and generations of continuing the what is called as offering the sacred transmission of those that generation of family lineage and all those aspects, that the memories that are carried in generations have been offered as namaskarams to Devi actually, as offered as what is called as a pilgrimage to Devi actually. So one way we see why I'm saying all these things are, one way we see that the the system is very, very complex. But at the same time, they have been so easily, they have percolated within our society and family and state actually. One side, we have very complex rituals actually. For example, a Sri Chakra Navavarna Puja, very highly complex. At the same time, the traditions have also easily evolved in approaching Devi actually, through the localized traditional ways of worship. For example, I do not know Durga Saptashati, but I can chant Durga Chalisa. What is Durga Chalisa basically? It is a sum total up of all Devi, doing the vadham or killing all these asuras and establishing dharma, which is running through the entire Durga Saptashati in complex Sanskritic terms. It is simply given in the Chalisa actually. So from complexity to simplicity actually. You are all thinking that you are here to learn something about Dasamahavidya, but let me tell you, you already know things actually. It is there in your memory. Because the mother is there in you actually. The only thing is that now you are actually evolving to know her as what are the established systems actually. What is the established system? The Shastras. The Shastras have codified it actually for us. That you are simply just like I'm waking you up and telling you, okay, this is the truth. Now you listen to it actually. It's there in you actually. Are you able to follow what I'm trying to say? It's not that I'm saying anything new to you. You know it. It is there in your memory. Its only thing is that you are revisiting your memory actually. So this Mahavidya, coming back to what I was saying, this Mahavidya is the central idea. That is the the Parabrahman, the Brahman becoming Adi Parāśakti, the formless, the Saguna versus the Nirguna debate. Nirgunam becoming Sagunam actually. Formless becoming form. And from becoming form, she's expanding actually. Okay. Moving forward, we understand the fact that like because when I'm talking about Dasamahavidyas, like we have the Dashavataras of Vishnu actually. Correct. And each of the Dashavataras had a very intricate relationship with the entire world, with the entire systems in which they were there, in the time periods they were evolved, and they had what is called as the Vishnu's avatarams basically meant to establish dharma and to put an end to the evil actually. If that is the case, then the Tantra uh, or the teachers in the tradition, they say this actually, that the Vishnu's 10 avatars are actually having intricate relationship with the Dashavataras. Actually, the Dashavataras, if they have a Shakti, that Shakti is coming from these from the traditions of identifying the Shakti which is present in the Dasamahavidyas. Though this is not a very prevalent theory, but this is there in the localized or the folklore traditions where they say that Bhaglamukhi is Vamana. The Vamana Shakti is Bhaglamukhi. Kamala is Vishnu. Kali is Krishna. Tara is Rama. Bhairavi is Rudra. Chinnamasta is Matsya Avatara of Vishnu. Matangi is the Brahma Swarupam, Brahma. Dhumavati is Varaha. Sodashi is Shiva. Like that. And this Bhuvaneshwari is none other than that Adi Parāśakti. She is the Bhuvana Tattvam, or rather the entire cosmos coming into an existence. So like this, there is a kind of an equivalence that was created within the Śākta system, more because the prevalent or the ideas with the mainstream aspects of the deities was given in touch actually. That the Śākta system is recognizing the role of the trinities, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, their roles, and saying that behind their roles, it is the Shakti which is functioning. And we know that the Bhuvaneshwari Tantra very clearly says, and also it is given in the Lalita Sahasranama, Karangulina Kotpanna Narayana Dashakritihi. From the 10 nails of Devi, the 10 Maha avatars have emerged. The Dasavataras have actually emerged. The 10 avatars of Vishnu. So this one aspect, as I mentioned, is the Mahavidya, which is deeply philosophical, deeply, it has complex theories involved, but I told you in a very simple sense. Even now, I'm like very confused how many of you would have understood the idea of the universal versus the local actually. I would like you to write a small paragraph and share it as the reflection for this, because I would truly like to understand what is the concept at which you are evolving? Because today for the reflection, that will be the point I would like you to write. What is the localization versus the universalization ideas that is present in the Daśa Mahāvidyās, and how do you perceive it actually? This is what I would like you to talk about in a very brief manner, for which I would definitely respond to all of you, those who are writing, because writing reflections are nothing but you are getting in direct communication with the teacher actually. Unless the teacher will not understand your progress, it is one-sided learning actually. So, Mahavidya, Adi Parāśakti concept. The next concept, which is very easy for all of you to correlate, is the form of Sati. Devi coming down as Sati. Sati is who? Daksha Prajapati's daughter, Parameshwara's wife, Patni of Parameshwara. And you know about the Daksha Prajapati Yajna and Devi, getting wanted to visit. Shiva did not accept, but she goes forcefully and she participates, and the story actually evolves there, and then the Shakti Peetams coming into establishment, and that Shakti Peetams getting established, where nothing but the origins of the Dasamahavidyas. That is what is the theory that is basically coming into. That is, though they were the primary classification as the 18 Shakti Peetas, the 51 Shakti Peetas, or the 108 Shakti Peetas, Sampurna Shakti Peetam or Ardha Shakti Peetam, we have that kind of a concept. But within those Shakti Peetam, what is the idea? Devi, though she might be having her localized identity in that 108 forms, but she is representing one aspect of the Mahavidya. For example, in a very simple sense, Kamakshi is a Shakti Peetam, correct? Kanchipuram, Kamakshi is a Shakti Peetam. Kamakshi is a Swarupam of which Mahavidya? Lalita Maha Tripura Sundari, correct? So, Sati, Shakti Peetams manifesting the 10 primordial Shaktis of the Dasamahavidya. This is the concept. Number one. And the next idea is evolving is, this is where this is prevalent. From where I'm talking, Bhagavata Purana 77 chapter 77. We'll talk about all these details actually. The second aspect is Parvati. Parvati, the idea is that there is this traditional pastime that talks about that Parvati got married, like the story of Sati is coming to an end. Himavan's daughter is Parvati, and Parvati is getting married to Parameshwara again. And it seems that one fine day, Parvati decides to go to her parents' house. Of course, any girl would want to go to her parents' house after marriage. So she goes to her father's place. But it seems that Shiva was very afraid, because Shiva remembers the previous history that happened with Sati. So he didn't wanted any of these things to happen once again. Even how many times he will also marry? Come on, it's like, so he has to do new things, right? He can't keep doing the same things actually. So he was worried. But of course, he didn't wanted to bring that in the front, because there is any conflict that is existing. So she goes to her father's place and she's living there. And Shiva will get still, there is a kind of a doubt that is emanating in the mind of Parameshwara, and Parameshwara will land up checking there actually, what's happening with his wife. But he does in a secretive manner. That is what is the thing actually. He doesn't inform, but he goes and stand there in a very secret manner to see what's happening. Of course, Parvati will get to know this. It's not that because she's Jagannatha, she is getting to know. Any wife will get to know, right? If the presence of her husband is being there, she will get to know, it seems actually. I do not know the mystery behind this, but this is what the Bhagavatam is saying. So she has got to know that her husband is there present. She'll say, come, wherever you are hiding and seeing me, come in the front. So Parameshwara will come, or rather he doesn't come, he's forced to come. And the moment, of course, Parameshwara is very embarrassed, because he has come to, in a secretive manner, he has come to see her. So the pastime is evolving in such a way that Parameshwara wants to leave the palace, actually, it seems. And when Parameshwara wanted to leave the palace actually, he wanted to leave through the doors, but the doors were closed, it seems, actually. All the doors were closed by Devi, and he was not allowed to go outside. And he wanted to open those 10 doors, through force, through his power. The moment those 10 doors in that palace, in her palace that opened, those 10 doors opened as 10 Mahāvidyās, actually. And like we all ask somebody, when we don't know them, who are you? So Parameshwara asked this question, it seems, who are you? Then they all introduced themselves, it seems, like I'm Kali, Rajinamasta, Mahatangi, like that they all introduced. So the theory is all about that Parvati manifested herself as the Dasamahavidya. So here the difference, the major difference that is coming up here is that, students, in the idea of Sati, she quits the body, and from her body, after quitting the body, the Dasamahavidya systems are evolved. But in the theory of Parvati, the traditions of Parvati, she's very much present there. She has not quit her body. There is no any untoward incidents that have taken place. But the Dasamahavidyas have evolved, actually. At the end of the day, Dasamahavidya systems have evolved. It's only the traditional narratives that we are looking into, what the Puranas are talking about in terms of the evolution of Devi, actually. Got it, all of you? So let us, tomorrow I will further continue with the introduction of the Mahavidyas. We will, now that we have completed with Sati and Parvati, we will look into Mahavidya as a part of the Kali Tattva, the Kali school of thought, and then we will look into the Tripura Sundari school of thought, the Ugra versus the Shanta debate. We will look into them detail. We will also look into the Mahavidyas emerging from Durga. Who is this Durga all about? Who is this? What is the difference between Chandi and Durga? And how the system evolved? All these introduction questions will be answered tomorrow in the context of the Dasamahavidyas. Interestingly, there is also a form of Devi who's called as Satakshi. Satakshi, the one who has 100 eyes, actually. Who is she? And from where, how it is related to the Dasamahavidyas, we will look into that detail also. And also, we will look into the interrelationship further in terms of how they are interrelated, yet they have their independent identities, how they are interrelated with each other. That also we will look into detail. I hope these sessions are useful for all of you, the introduction. Today, particularly, I wanted you all to understand and contemplate and write about how she is universal, yet she is local. She is Akilanda Kodi Brahmanda Nayaki, yet at the same time, she is your mother. How do you conceptualize this, actually? Think about it. And I want you to put it in writing, actually. Is that clear? How do you build this? What is your understanding that is coming out from what is called as the universal to the local? How we perceive the system, that is the Shakti as a system, Shakti as an understanding, Shakti as a tattva, Shakti as a principle, Shakti as a lived reality, Shakti as your Kula Devi, Kula Devata, or Shakti as your Ishta Devata, or Shakti as the larger concept of the Dasamahavidyas. So like this, I would like you to bring a small write-up, and we all will be, there's nothing called as right or wrong. You don't have to worry whether what you're saying is making sense or not making sense. You don't have to worry about these things. All I want you to is to develop the habit of reading and writing. If you really want to sustain in this Mahavidyalaya and want to learn further, unless and until you're not going to read and write, things are not going to evolve, actually. This is a school and you need to learn to read, write. Very categorically, I'm telling all of you. Thank you so much. Let's end the session with Mangalam. Sarva Mangala Manghalye Shive Sarvartha Sadike Sharanye Trayambhake Gauri Narayani Namostute Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadrakali Kapalini Durga Kshamak Shiva Dhatri Swaha Swada Namostute Om Shanti 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 Sarvam Shri Chandi Mahalakshmi Arpanamastu Tathastu. Also, one important announcement to all of you. Very important and a very once in a lifetime opportunity has come up to all of us. We will be conducting the Bhagavata Navaham actually. Navaham means in a span of 9 days, we will be able to recite the entire Devi Bhagavatam. We will be able to listen the Shravana of the Moola Parayanam and also the stories associated with the Devi Bhagavatam. It's a 9-day complete residential retreat of our Gurukula organized in a very beautiful sea place. This is happening in August, in the mid of August. So we are going to start with the registrations. I'll be sharing all the details about the program and everything coming for a 9 days. It is 9 days, the program, and then the traveling and everything. It might be not easy for all of you, but those who really looking forward, those who want to lead that kind of a Gurukula life, getting up early in the morning, doing japam, doing yajna, doing shravanam, being in contemplation, eating some sattvic food, and want to experience that kind of a Gurukula life and constantly from morning to until night, be in the Smarana Devi, and you can take that kind of an opportunity. You can apply for this program and be there. And the question will come, can I come for a few days and go? It all depends upon, because it's a complete Navaham, which means the 9 days, the entire, the Devi Bhagavatam and also the Durga Saptashati will be read. And along with that, we will have a lot of other activities also like puja, satsang, homam, and all the other activities which the students, all those who are participating will be able to perform. The dates are also decided. The location is also decided. Like, those who are interested, you are welcome to come. This is what I would say. I'll share further details, and those who are interested, you can be a part of this program. Thank you so much. Namaskaram. See you tomorrow in the next class, which we will be discussing about the introduction to Daśa Mahāvidyās.